Hi everyone, I'm Hoodie Angel Brandon, and welcome to another Fire Emblem Heroes unit build showcase. Today, at long last, we are here to build our adorable baby bunny boy, Ashe. Specifically, it is his spring version, who we recently got all these merges for. We are ready to help our knight in training ascend to become a member of the Angel Army and tear through his foes, and hopefully one day he will be able to become a chivalrous knight who stories are told about and achieve his dream. So I'm very excited for this. I've been waiting for an accessible Ashe for a long time. He is one of my favorite characters in the series, and so I am just so excited to finally be able to build up and make him strong. However, these are going to be more simple, budgety builds for a couple of reasons, which I'll get into later. But for now, I'm just excited to be able to use him finally. So let us start a new chapter in the story of Ashe, the Knight of Flowers. Here we go. 10 ashes, upgraded to 5-star. And now, like the pages of a story, we shall combine these ashes to form one complete book. And here we go, +1. So yes, I mentioned that this will be a bit of a budget build. That is because both of us waiting for the arcane dagger, which I mentioned during the summoning session for him, as well as the fact that for some reason he's a dagger flyer, and ranged flying units do not have a ton of options, so he doesn't have as many skills to work with anyway. But I still have some builds in mind that we can use while we wait for that arcane dagger, and when that comes we can finalize his build and see what he actually needs. But for now I just want to build him up and get him usable. So here we go, +7. Ba 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 da ba. He's my baby, ba 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 da ba da. My little baby boy. +8. +9. And behold, +10 Spring Ashe. Ah, look at him. Oh man, 53 base speed. Speed creep is getting a little insane, yeah? And 47 base attack is also pretty good. It's funny, Ashe is always made fun of for having bad attack in the main game, but here in FEH, he gets to be a monster. Actually, I always thought those complaints were overblown. My Ashe ended up really good on 4 out of 5 runs, and on the 5th one, he was a dancer, so his combat skills didn't matter at all. Ashe was often the MVP. Next, give him some flowers of his own. Just a few to bump up his stats. Just +1 across the board. Always nice to see those stats get a little higher. However, this time around, we're not actually going to give him an Ascendant Fleuret. For now, I only have a few left, and I don't think it's super necessary, so we're going to hold off, but eventually in the future, he might end up with one. For his blessing, I think I'm just going to go with a light blessing for now. Just because I already have a flying dagger on Astra, so we'll get one for light season as well. For his accessory, I was originally thinking maybe the Thunder Flower because it kind of fits that flower theme he's got going on, but he's also a bunny boy, so I thought it would be fun to give him the friendly ears and he can have a friend to come into battle with him as well. I would have liked to actually cover the bunny ears with something else, but alas, the game says no, so this is also kind of the closest thing we can get, is just putting a bunny over the bunny ears. For his ally support, he is going to go with Professor Byleth in his sage attire. Next, we have to inherit his skills. Again, being a ranged flyer, his options are a little limited, but we still have enough things that we can make some nice builds for him as placeholders until we can fully nail down exactly what kit will be better suited for him. Starting off with movement assists, we're going to just go ahead and grab drawback, and we'll also go ahead and take speed smoke along with that, so that he could potentially run 3 debuffs, and then if he took attack smoke in his seal, he could run quad debuffs, though that isn't really the direction I'm planning to take him. Next, we are going to go ahead and grab reposition alongside attack speed push 1 through 3 from Leone. Go ahead and use my least favorite 3 houses archer to buff up my favorite, even though he forgot his bow this time around. And to complete the movement assist trifecta, we're going to grab swap as well as wind sweep from Lithis. And we're going to go ahead and grab New Moon and Luna, as well as, I guess, Armored Blow 1 and 2 from Katria. And while it's not as useful as it used to be, we're going to go ahead and grab Desperation just in case. Again, just kind of filling up his skill library so that in the future, if he needs some of these, they are already there and available as options. And don't think I forgot to get Ashe a fancy new weapon. We're going to give him the Vicious Dagger as a placeholder until the Arcane Dagger drops. It does allow him to get offensive null follow-up despite being a ranged flyer and not normally having access to that, so that is a pretty valuable thing to have. We unfortunately can't grab attack speed solo or the full line of disarm trap alongside it, but I think we're still going to go ahead and take disarm trap 1 and 2. They're not super useful, but they could have some niche use in the future, so we'll go ahead and grab that. It's also, I feel, the rarer of the 2 skills. I was originally saving copies of Deadeye for Ashe with the assumption he was going to be a bow unit, but unfortunately he wasn't. However, we still do have a premium special for him with Volk, who we managed to get lucky and grab. So we're going to go ahead and grab Lethality, and we'll also go ahead and grab Sturdy Impact alongside it. Not his optimal A slot, but it doesn't hurt to have. Potentially shore up his defenses if he needs to take a hit. Instead, his primary A slot option will probably be Attack Speed Catch from Farina here, and alongside that, I think we'll just go ahead and grab Attack Speed Snag 1 through 3. When I was debating builds for him, I came up with a few off-the-wall ideas, like using a Snag skill to debuff enemies to allow him to take full advantage of Attack Speed Catch, but I don't think it's necessarily optimal, but this does give him the option at least. He'd probably prefer Speed Def Snag from Kent if we decided to go that route, but that is a fairly easy pickup anyway, so not a huge deal. There you go. And there were a lot of other options that I considered giving him, like the flyer movement assist skills, the aforementioned Speed Def Snag. However, I think there are probably other units who could be better suited to using those skills, so for now I'm going to leave those off, but I may give those to him in the future. For now, we're going to just go ahead and end things by picking up Speed Def Rain from Jill, and we'll also go ahead and grab Attack Speed Push for him. This gives him an option if he wants to use Desperation either on his B or Seal by allowing him to chip himself down, and it focuses on his more important attack and speed over something like Fury. And there are plenty of other options as well that we could have picked up, like, say, Swift Sparrow or Life and Death, again, as budget options, but for now, I think we got him a decent selection of semi-premium skills, considering that we still really don't know what direction he's going to end up going. But that's okay, we'll be here to help Ashe figure out his ideal career path in the future. So now we're just going to go ahead and learn his skills as normal. And we're also going to go ahead and give his new Vicious Dagger a speed refine, so that he can just stack his speed ever higher. Again, it's going to be very important for him regardless of the build we end up going with. So with his skills learned, we are ready to give him his build. I was originally planning to give him 2 different builds, however, they more or less have the same end goal of letting him initiate safely without getting counterattacked. So instead I'm going to do the one build, and I will just kind of talk about some other options that would let you do the second build as well. But even beyond a pure initiating setup, which is what I'm going for, he does have some other options. He could stack flyer movement assist skills in his B, C, and S to allow him and teammates to warp around the battlefield. That's kind of an interesting gimmick he could run. Alternatively, he could run something that stacks smoke skills like attack, speed, pulse, panic, or even fatal smoke, and combine those with Dagger 7 and chip enemies down. You could even run something like Savage Blow and Bone Carver to do a lot of chip damage. So there are other options as well, but we're just going to keep it simple with a basic initiating setup. And to start things off, we are going to take the Vicious Dagger. It buffs his attack and speed, which is very important for him since those are his 2 main stats. And it also allows him to get offensive null follow-up, which is pretty important for him because being a ranged flyer, he doesn't have a lot of options to get that effect. He can get it from teammates like Legendary Male Byleth, but otherwise he can't really easily equip it from something like running null follow-up in his B or Seal, so getting it off his dagger is pretty solid. His base Bunny Egg is kind of an interesting gimmick, allowing him to reduce damage, but since we're going for a build that just outright prevents him from taking damage, it's definitely not as helpful, so getting that null follow-up is way better for him. And also, if you don't happen to have Vicious Dagger, it is the same effect as the Courtly Fan, which was available with Divine Codes, so you may have that floating around as another option for that to get the same effect on his weapon. For his assist, as always, very flexible. We could run his native rally up speed because Ashe is just such a kind and cheerful boy that he can support his allies, and we love him for that. But I think more helpful for him, generally speaking, would be just running reposition and leveraging his flyer movement. However, this is still a fantastic option if you can afford to forego that movement, and would probably be a lot more helpful on a build that focuses more on flyer movement skills like guidance or aerobatics and things like that. For his special, we are going to take lethality. It does have consistency issues though. We don't have slaying in the Vicious Dagger, and he doesn't have access to a ton of special charging options like Flashing Blade or Times Pulse or Special Spiral, so he doesn't have a ton of ways to spam it. He could run Heavy Blade, though with attack creep that could still be a little difficult without support. He could also run something like Ouch Pouch, which would help charge it a little faster, but you're giving up your weapon to get your special online a little faster, but not even all the way right at the start of the match. So overall, I just don't think it's worth trying to build him with the special in mind, and it's more of just a nice thing to have on hand for when it triggers. But if you do want to have his special online a little more often, he could easily take something like Moonbow or even Ruptured Sky to get that special online a bit faster. For his A slot, Sturdy Impact kind of has the same issue as his native weapon, where it does help make his survivability a bit better, and something like Remote Sparrow would be even better at that since that gives speed, but it's still kind of redundant if our goal is to just make him not take damage in the first place. But if you're running a build like the Flyer setup where you will be vulnerable to counterattacks, then something like Remote Sparrow or even Sturdy Impact could have more value. However, for general purpose, I think stacking his attack speed is much smarter. His base attack speed catch 3 is a very solid option. However, we have attack speed catch 4, which is what we're going to go with. But if you want to swap it out for whatever reason, like maybe if you're running a chip damage set and you're concerned about not having the foe's HP up and having debuffs on them, then you could definitely run something like Life and Death, Swift Sparrow, or even Attack Speed Solo as well. But Attack Speed Catch 4 is fairly easy to at least get the +7, making it competitive with other skills, and it technically has a higher stat ceiling with being able to get up to +9 if you have someone supplying the debuffs or Ashe gets danced himself. So very powerful, but Attack Speed Push 4 is still not bad and combos really well with Desperation, and would allow you to chip him down and then make it so that he can get his follow-up attacks much safer. Speaking of, Desperation is an option for the B slot, especially if you're running Attack Speed Push, but I think if you're going to run Desperation, it's much better off in the Seal slot, because that leaves your B slot open for something else, and while he doesn't have a ton of options, that does notably leave him available to run SD Far Trace, which gives him Canto and is much better, I think, than running Desperation in the B slot and then running something like Life and Death in the Seal. So if you're going to run the Desperation route, I think that's the way to go, but Desperation does have the issue of needing a bit of setup to actually get into Desperation range, so that can be a little tricky, but once it gets going, it can snowball pretty well. However, the other option, and the one we're going to go with, is Wind Sweep, which is a bit simpler. You can still make follow-up attacks thanks to Vicious Dagger's offensive null follow-up, and it doesn't require prior setup to help you chip your HP down to get into Desperation range. However, as a trade-off, it does leave us vulnerable to dragons and magic units, so there is some give and take there, and which one actually works better is kind of up to your preference and what you're going for. But I like the fact that Wind Sweep is ready to go. Turn 1 doesn't need setup and will let him just kind of safely take out enemies. And with Desperation, you also have the worry of if you don't actually kill the enemy, they can counterattack and take you out, which can be bad against bulkier units like save tanks. So being able to Wind Sweep and just prevent them from counterattacking at all can be more helpful. And another option would be to run something like a Snag skill, which could help to trigger his catch skill very easily. If you're going to go that route, you could run SD Snag instead of Attack Speed Snag. I think SD would be better. And then you could run Desperation in the Seal as well, which would allow you to debuff the enemy and then double them with relative ease. So that's another option. But yeah, overall I think Desperation is just better off in the Seal. For his C slot, we have a few options. He could definitely run his Smoke skills or a Flyer skill, but if you want something a little more selfish, he could run something like Attack Speed Oath 4, which would give him buffs and let him get some warping to maneuver things easier. Or you could run something like a Menace skill and drain enemy stats. But again, those are really selfish options, and I prefer something that offers a little bit of team utility. So in that case, I take Speed Def Rain 3. Reigns and hold skills are just really helpful. You could also just run his base attack Speed Rain on a budget, but I think Speed Def Rain is better. It does let you hit harder, which helps guarantee those kills, and I think that's more valuable than Attack Speed Rain's little bit of cushion to your defenses. Even if you wanted to use Attack Speed Rain to help you get into Desperation range safer, I think Desperation, having the issue where it lives or dies based on whether or not you actually kill the enemy before they get the chance to counterattack, means that the extra debuff you're doing to the defenses is worth more than Attack Speed Rain's boost. For his Seal, it's fairly flexible as usual, kind of fits whatever you need for the map or your allies aren't using. But he could definitely take something like Attack Speed Oath. Again, he could run Desperation here, though not really with Wind Sweep. Those don't overlap at all. And then, other than that, really anything that's boosting his attack and speed could be helpful. If you're running Desperation, Brazen Attack Speed is good, though not with Wind Sweep, again. And in our case, we're just going to keep it simple with Swift Sparrow. So, there we go. Looks pretty good. Pretty strong and pretty fast. Fairly basic, fairly one-dimensional, but he should do really well at what he's trying to do, which is just hit things without getting hit back. Must protect the boy. And for his teammates, we're just going to go ahead and bring in Professor Byleth, who is running his speed preempt build. My thought process was Byleth could tank some of the ranged units that Ashe maybe doesn't want to take, like archers, without having to dedicate a team slot for a save armor. Though a save armor would also be a great partner for him. Either near or far, both would help him out a lot since he is fairly squishy. But Ashe can also cover green units that would give Byleth issues. So I think that's got some synergy there. Maybe not the best combo, but they do cover each other fairly well. Next we'll bring Seteth, who can also support Ashe with his spear. And likewise, Ashe can cover his weakness to greens. And speaking of greens, we'll round out the team with Plaguey and Chris, who can just kind of take advantage of Ashe's debuffs that he provides. So we are here in Arena Assault to test our bunny boy, and what have we got? An Innis, so that would be an issue, except we are probably going to outspeed him, and Wind Sweep means that even though we won't kill him in one shot, he won't be able to kill us on the counterattack, so that is fine. Even though he has that flyer effectiveness, as long as we play smart and don't let him initiate, we'll be fine. Shamir could be a little tricky because she is fairly fast, but I think we'll still outspeed her. Dimitri, also similar thing, he's pretty fast, but I think we'll be okay. And then Marth could be a troublesome because he can stat ball pretty easily. But overall, I think we've got this. So to start things off, I'm going to just move everyone up this way. I want to take out Innis ASAP so that he can't use his range to take care of us, though that didn't quite work. He went the opposite direction that I was hoping he would go. Alright, they are all here. Everyone is here. And now we're going to go ahead and take out Innis. Like I said, we can't one-shot him, but he can't counterattack, so even though he probably would have killed us if he had, it is a non-issue. Now we're going to just reposition Ashe, get him out of there. I don't want to deal with that stuff right now. We're going to just kind of regroup, I think, now. Move everyone over, and we're going to try and use the terrain to our advantage and try and get into a more favorable position here. So move down, start breaking these structures, and we're going to try and catch them on the awkward rivers here. Okay, so we can't do anything to Marth because he's so buffed. We will just pull back and pass turn. Okay, that's no good. We don't want Marth to hit us. We can do some damage to Dimitri, but it's not enough to actually finish him off, which is concerning. Okay. Move like that. There we go. Now we can fairly safely hit... we can't hit Marth. He's getting debuffed by Chris, so that's helping us a little bit. Or we could attack Dimitri, and I think I'd rather hit Dimitri because I'm trying to do this without relying on our teammates too much. So we're gonna hit Dimitri, chip him down a little bit, charge our lethality, but then he gets his special reset. Alright, so now we're going to... oh, we can't quite finish off Dimitri. Shamir is not debuffed or anything, so we'll take her out. Hit her with the lethality, and down you go. And we will move Byleth and Seteth. Alright, so both Marth and Dimitri are debuffed, which is a little unfortunate. I was trying to do this without relying on the debuffs, but we will have Ashe move in and take out Dimitri. There you go, finish him off. We probably would have killed him anyway, even without the extra stats from attack speed catch, but still took him out. And now we just have to deal with Marth, and that is no issue. There we go. Drop him down. And that is a win for us. So there we go. Overall, he did okay. I wouldn't say he was particularly outstanding, but he is a demote unit, so not really expecting him to totally steamroll everything on his own. But he did alright. He did pretty good damage, pretty solid. Not quite as crazy as I was hoping necessarily. And he is fairly one-dimensional, but he still did his job, which was just get in there and take care of units without getting counterattacked. So good job, Ashe. Anyway, like I said, there are plenty of other options you can take for his builds, but I don't want to commit too much since we don't know what kind of weapon he'll end up having later on. So for now, I'm pretty satisfied with this. He'll just be kind of a counter unit that we have in our toolbox. But anyways, thank you guys, as always, so much for watching, joining me on our bunny building adventure. And until next time, this is Hoodie Angel Brandon and our bunny boy Ashe, signing out.